A Man Called Otto. Is this movie actually worth watching? Now, on a personal note, I was a bit concerned going into this movie because Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors, if not my favorite actor, and his last two performances, in my own personal opinion, were not the best. Elvis, when he played Colonel Tom Parker, and that new Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio movie where he was, let's be honest guys, just god awful. But now he's in this movie with Mark Forster, and he's not doing a stupid accent. He can do accents, Forrest Gump. So that begs the question, is Tom Hanks back? Well, let me introduce myself and let me answer that question for you. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the Brando Critic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I was able to see A Man from Otto a little bit early, and I'm here to give you my honest, no BS, non-spoiler review for you today and tell you if it's worth watching. But have you guys seen A Man from Otto? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Again, guys, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all opinion. So let's get started. So A Man Called Otto is from director Mark Forster, and he's done many films in the past: Monsters Ball, Finding Neverland, Quantum of Solace. Although I don't blame that movie on him, I blame it on the writers and the writer's strike at the time, Christopher Robin, and of course this one. And I forgot that he had actually directed World War Z with Brad Pitt about 10 years ago now. That's crazy to think about. But the guy knows how to make a movie. And it stars Tom Hanks, Mariana Trevino, and Rachel Keller, amongst many others. And our story centers around Otto, a man called Otto, this old, widowed, grumpy man living in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And this guy is a real grumpy old bastard. He doesn't smile, he doesn't say thank you, he loves the rules and he loves his routines, he's very particular, and he's just a grumpy stick in the mud. But a quirky family moves into the house across the street, and they're able to break through his rough exterior and help him let go of all of his grief and remind him that life moves on, and helps him embrace the joys of being in the present moment in everyday life. A very simple, quaint, standard movie plot. So what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, the movie is cute, and it was actually better than I expected it to be. I saw the trailer and I'm like, this is just January fluff. But the movie did have some heart to it. The movie was cute. It made me smile. It made me chuckle quite a few times, and it did actually make me emotional a few times in the movie, and I can't deny that. If I start to feel some tears coming down my face during a movie, then it is doing something right. So I'm glad that the movie was able to do that, but I'll be honest guys, this is not a world beater. This is not an amazing movie. I'm not gonna be going to you guys and saying, you gotta see A Man Called Otto in the theater. Forget Avatar: The Way of Water, or see that, then see A Man Called Otto. This movie's not spectacular, and there are some major, and I mean major, problems with this movie that keep it from being a really excellent movie. But let's get into it. So when the movie starts, I see many different logos of film companies, distributors, production houses, and generally speaking, in my own personal experience, when I get that in a movie, I'm like, oh boy, we are in trouble. They had to get financing from everywhere to make this movie, and generally speaking, that does not equal a very enjoyable time. But I said to myself, you know what? This was a Swedish book, and there's a Swedish movie of the same story, so maybe there's some international money behind this movie. That's fine. Mark Forster, Tom Hanks, we have some big names here. And then the score kicks in, Thomas Newman's score, and I go, you know what? This feels like I'm actually watching a movie, not just some January fodder that gets shoved at this month because studios don't know where to put it. This feels like a movie. And the score reminded me of movies like Scent of a Woman or Saving Mr. Banks, which is highly underrated, by the way. One of Tom Hanks's better films. And I know it's crazy to say, he's done Toy Story, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, Philadelphia, Saving Private Ryan. The guy's made a lot of movies. Saving Mr. Banks though, that's one to check out. But back to this one, once I heard that score, I felt safe. I'm like, you know what? We're in good hands. This is not gonna be a miserable experience. This is not gonna be a movie where I'm just dreading the next 2 hours of my life. We are in safe hands. So let's talk about Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks, you can tell that he's having a lot of fun on screen being this just awful bastard. He's having a lot of fun being the stick in the mud. Now personally, me, Brandon, I'm a pretty positive, easygoing, happy-go-lucky person, so me and Otto are completely different people, but I was able to relate to him in this movie. He loves the rules, he loves how everything has a place, everything has a certain way of doing it. You know, he wants things to be proper, and I think that's the German in me. You know, my father, both my grandfathers were the same way, and if you look behind me too, like there's a lot of chaos back there, but every single movie is in alphabetical order, and as soon as it's not in alphabetical order, maybe it's OCD, I'm not too sure, but either way, I love how things have a place, have a system, just like Otto. He likes to keep things simple. He hates when people make things needlessly complicated, and you see that in the very first scene when he's in a department store trying to buy some rope. I'm like, dude, I completely agree with you. Keep it simple. Let's not overly complicate things. That's just something it's my pet peeve. And he always loves to save money. As soon as he sees some coupons in the newspaper, ooh, buy one, get one free. Oh, 2 for $8. He gets really excited, and I'm like that too. Almost all these movies back here were not bought for full price. I related to Otto in that sense, but let's be honest, guys, Otto at the beginning of this movie is a pretty awful character. And you understand why he is the way that he is. He is hurting on the inside, but he is extremely just downright rude to people who you know their intentions are good. And Otto is a man who does not mind being in conflict whatsoever, and he'll try to find it wherever he goes. Or at least maybe he doesn't try to find it, he sees it everywhere. Whereas someone like me, it's like, okay, well, they mischarged me 33 cents, just let it go, it's not gonna bother me too much. But with Otto, nope, it's principle. But this is where the humor comes in. When Tom Hanks has these sassy outbursts at people, it can be quite hilarious. And Tom Hanks is really good at being an angry person, even though he is seen as being always the good guy in movies, and he's a very charming fellow. His outbursts in this movie allow for a lot of the humor to shine through. And the great foil for him is Marisol, played by Mariana Trevino. Now, Tom Hanks is brilliant in this movie, but I think she is the showstopper. She is the show stealer. Same thing, right? You know what I mean. But her character is so kind. She has that Latin American welcoming nature. She introduces herself to all the neighbors. She makes them food. She makes them all these Mexican dishes. She's like, oh, try it. It's really good. And she's a family person, and she just has a wonderful heart, but she also sets boundaries. She doesn't have any problem being in conflict either, and she keeps Otto in check. And seeing them butt heads with each other and seeing her break through his tough exterior, you can see that Otto really respects her for that. And it's a wonderful dynamic, and that's really the heart of the movie. And at the heart of this movie is a good message. And that's one thing that I really look for in a movie like this, is that the core of the movie is in the right place. This movie's message is one that's told time and time again, and that is that life is full of unexpected things. Life is a box of chocolates, right? You don't know what's gonna happen. You might meet some stranger at a train station and she ends up being your wife. You might get into some crazy car accident, which is a real detriment and cripples one of your family members. You might meet somebody in some weird place that become your business partner. You might buy some car and they meet. You never know what's gonna happen, but expect good moments and bad moments. That's just how life works. But no matter what happens to you, life always moves on. So be present, because the past and the future only exist in your mind. The only thing that matters and the only thing that's happening right now is the present. It's a gift. That's why they call it that, right? Also, if you're liking this video, definitely hit the like button. It really helps out the video spread to more people. It helps out the channel. So thank you so much for that in advance. Now for the bad. And there are more bad moments than I'd like to admit that there are in this movie. Number one is that I feel like this movie is reserved. So Tom Hanks is a really grumpy old guy, and he swears sometimes at people, and it deals with very dark subject matters like suicide and death and miscarriages and things like that. However, I feel like this movie sometimes flirts with those dark subject matters and sometimes flirts with those really angry outbursts, but I feel like it's constrained by its happy-go-lucky, commercial-like sappiness, and I'll go into that in a minute, but I'm like, man, I can just see Tom Hanks go nuts on this person. And I feel like he wants to say more, but he can't because of the rating of this movie or the overall direction. I'm not sure. It's kind of like watching Joe Pesci in Home Alone. You know that he wants to swear. You know he wants to swear, but he can't because it's a kid's film. However, that doesn't really bother me too much in that film because that is a children's family Christmas film. But this movie deals with the dark subject matters anyway. I wish that they kind of pushed their boundaries a little bit more because I feel like this story can warrant it. But unfortunately, they go for a different tone for the most part in this movie, and that is my biggest problem with the movie, and that's number two. This movie is unbelievably eye-rollingly sappy in many, many parts. So we see many flashbacks of Otto's life meeting his wife, Sonia. I'm gonna say almost all of it is cheesy, corny, sappy. I was like, oh boy. I was rolling my eyes more times than I like to admit. So yeah, that's a problem. And there's a couple reasons for that. So subsection number one, maybe this is just me being an asshole, but I do not buy that the woman playing Sonia would fall in love with the person playing young Tom Hanks. Not a chance. And especially the way that he acts, I'm like, I don't buy it. That this woman would go out of her way to be flirtatious, to be interested, to make all the moves on him. Yes, he does make the first initial move to start communication, but I don't know. I just don't buy it. And number two, sure, it's romanticized because it's his flashbacks, so he's remembering it a certain way. But the music that they decided to play in these scenes is just like cringeworthy. So awful. It's that indie acoustic hipster commercial like songs, and I'm like, guys, we're making a film. Thomas Newman is your composer. You can make a really great score for these scenes. Mark Foster is your director. He has directed many great movies, and Tom Hanks is your main actor. Why do I feel like I'm watching a commercial for the SPCA? Why do I feel like I'm watching a commercial for some bank investment where it's like, we're all about family and we want to make sure that your family's taken care? Like, it just feels so cheap. It feels so manipulative. It's the really hit you over the head, talking down to the audience crap, and I'm sorry, but I can't stand for that. I would like a movie like this to kind of treat its audience with respect. And there's one moment in the movie, and I won't spoil it, where something really tragic and traumatizing happens for the characters, and they just have the absolute worst song over top of it. And it's almost like you should just be going, what you say? Put that over it if you're gonna go that stupid. That one really bothered me. Also, there's another scene, I guess minor spoiler for a little scene in the movie, but Otto is at a train station and he sees a man fall onto the tracks. And he wants to try to help him, but everyone else just pulls out their phones. They're like, oh my God, there's a guy who's fallen down on the tracks, and no one wants to help him. And Tom Hanks is going, for God's sakes, guys, help me get this guy up. And I understand that it's like the social commentary of our generation, how we just want to film things, we want to get famous. And I'm like, okay, seeing that on screen makes me almost ashamed to be a YouTuber, because I am filming myself and I'm always on social media trying to be a influencer, I guess, because I'm sharing my thoughts on things on the internet. But then it crosses a line where it becomes almost a satire of social commentary, where it just gets so obvious that it becomes comical and it becomes downright stupid. So the sappiness is a real problem with this movie, and I can completely understand when people watch this movie and they hate it. It's because of this reason. Now, I do believe that the heart of this movie is in the right place, so the sappiness can't really tip it over or make it hit the iceberg. You know what I'm trying to say? The heart of the movie is in the right place and it's firm. The sappiness is the really unfortunate icing to this cake. And my third problem is the length and the pacing. This movie is over 2 hours long. It does not need to be over 2 hours long, not even close. Hour and a half at most. And there were many moments in this movie where I'm like, okay, I know exactly where this film is going. Let's get on with it. And halfway through the movie, I'm like, I'm kind of over it. I've already seen what I need to see. I know the message. I know what's going to happen. Let's get going. And the movie tried to show so many different things to try to be sappy, to try to be emotional. And again, like I said, it was pretty just downright ridiculous that I really felt its length. I'm like, okay, guys, checking my watch here. And just a side note, and I feel like I have to put this in here, I don't like talking about this stuff, but this movie does deal with quote unquote woke subject matters. Now, the reason why I say that is because some people really applaud that stuff and they want to see that in movies. So if that's you, then definitely watch A Man Called Otto. This movie is definitely for you. If you hate that stuff, if you're the person who just complains that everything in Hollywood is woke and how it's going down the tubes and yada yada yada, then this movie's gonna upset you. So again, I just feel like I gotta say that because some people will be going into this movie wanting this, not wanting this. It depends on who you are. Just know that going in. And quite frankly, it doesn't even really matter what my opinion is. You guys can decide on your own. So the question you want answered is this movie worth the watch? While not spectacular, and this movie does have some major problems in it, if you are wanting to watch this movie with some grandparents or your family, or just have it on cable and you want to see a movie that kind of tugs at your heartstrings, then I would say yes. I'm gonna give A Man Called Otto a 3 out of 5. Now that still leaves you with one problem though. Like I said, the last two Tom Hanks performances in major motion pictures have not been the best, Elvis and Pinocchio. But there was one from 2 years ago that went under the radar for most people, and that is called Finch from Apple TV+. So if you want more Tom Hanks in your life, then I definitely suggest watching that one, and luckily enough, I have a review for that movie on my channel, so I definitely recommend checking that one out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in that video.